You're listening to the Quint's podcast.
How many times have we all been sad about our favorite book being converted into a film? A lot of times. I've heard Potterheads go on and on about it all the time. But the latest fad is books being converted into web shows. Sacred Games to tha hi pehle se, and now the latest one is Bard of Blood on Netflix. Yes, it's based on the 2015 espionage novel of the same name by Bilal Siddiqui. Hey guys, you're listening to OffScreen and I'm your host, Nand Kumar. Why should you listen to OffScreen? Because every other Wednesday we bring you stories from the world of movies and web shows featuring people who slog it out behind the scenes, that is, people who work off-screen to make things happen on-screen. Also, the Quint's podcasts are available on Apple, Google Podcasts, JioSaavn and Spotify. Do subscribe to the platform of your choice to keep listening. So I'm going to be talking to the writers of Bard of Blood, Mayank Tewari, who has written the screenplay, and Bilal Siddiqi, who wrote the book when he was actually in college. I can only imagine how worried I would be if I had written something and someone made a show or a film about it. So did they have a lot of arguments, and about what? What's the hardest part of adapting a book? How is working with Netflix different from working in Bollywood? I have a lot of questions for them. So let's begin. Hi Mayank and hi Bilal, and thank you for being on OffScreen. So I saw the trailer of Bard of Blood and I saw a couple of episodes, and I wanted to start by asking that whenever a book is being converted into a series or a movie, there'll be these bunch of people who are like, oh, please don't make it into like a movie or a series because we really like this book. And you see that in like Harry Potter and like a bunch of books, like people are like, oh no, the series was a disappointment or the movie was a disappointment. Is that something that you had in mind?
Yeah, that was a fear. That's very legitimate fear. And I think we discussed it a couple of times also. But it's the nature of the beast. So yeah, one feels like that, Bilal is quite well known on Twitter and on social media. A lot of people have read his books. He just finished writing his fourth novel. So that sort of a thing is there, I suppose. But I guess that's the case with all, like you said, with all adaptations.
Most popular books, right? Yeah.
That's what the expectation is.
For you, was that a legitimate apprehension?
It wasn't actually, because I knew that the minute we kind of got down to adapting it, I knew exactly what points of the book were weak. What I had probably written as a 19-year-old wouldn't quite stick if it's going to be a Netflix show. And I think with the show, we have a better version of the story than the book. And I genuinely feel that, yes. Being the writer of the book, I mean, several things that I would have liked to change in the book, and we got that opportunity to do it. We got that opportunity to better it with the show. And I think, yeah, we've tried.
But what's key to converting it into a series? What do you think is that different approach that you have to employ?
For instance, a book is sort of in chapters, right? And you have to sort of divide a show into episodes. And the structure of it is a little different. So if one finds that right way of telling it, what is... So I think that it took us a while to get there. But like Bilal said, when we did, he was very happy with some of the things we came up with.
Yeah, because an episode will have a beginning, a high point and an end. And that's true of every episode, right? Whereas a book will not have that kind of crescendo at every moment. I'm guessing that's...
And it actually goes back to the very fundamental difference between a book and a screenplay. I think in a screenplay, you have to kind of show every emotion in the best dramatic possible way for the character to display. In a book, you can actually just write a paragraph of what a character is feeling in their heads and get away with it. You don't have to visually, I mean, it's up to the reader to interpret it. Yeah. Yes, as a show, that's not the case, right?
So, how long did you work on the screenplay of the show?
About 9 months.
Like a baby.
Yeah, but this is your baby, I mean, initially, and the book.
Yeah.
And like you said, you were 19 or 20, you were at Xavier's when you were writing this, and so it's about this, I mean, these Indian spies who are captured in Balochistan, and an agent who's hung up his boots and come back to it. So first of all, you were really young to think of a world like this. So what was the germ of the idea? Because I mean, I read that you were being mentored by Hussain Zaidi.
Yeah.
But still,
I still am actually.
I can't imagine myself thinking of this world when I was 19.
No, I mean, no, it's the genre. Very fond of the genre. Always been since school. Always read books that were not supposed to be read by me at that age. Like I picked up Godfather or something when I was in 5th standard, and Dad used to hide the copies away, and I used to buy a new one or read them at crossword. You could just take a cushion and sit there.
Yeah.
So
That's
so
just dark.
Yeah, I know, but the idea came to me when I was in college and I was assisting Hussain sir on one of his other books called Mumbai Avengers, which was also an adaptation, which got adapted. When I was kind of helping him on that, he asked me if I'm writing something of my own. And I had written a few chapters, but that was just for fun because I used to read a lot of spy fiction and all of that. And just wanted to create, an Indian spy who could fill that vacuum. Just have a fun ride.
We're supposed to be a team, right? ये last minute improvisation smartness नहीं, धोखेबाजी है.
मैं बस घर वापस जाना चाहता हूँ. जाओगे, लेकिन जिंदा या बॉडी बैग में ये तुम पर है.
So Mayank, what was the thing that you had to keep in mind when you were writing the screenplay? Like you said, you removed things, you added things. What were those key inputs that you made?
I think that the key input was just like sort of keeping the screenplay pacey and ensuring that it does not lag. Those technical things, because and fleshing out, like you said, some characters, adding something new. When you have a book already there, then most of the heavy lifting has already been done. So one doesn't need to go back to the drawing board, if you know what I mean. So then it's just like technically sort of trying to structure the scenes in a way that they are engaging. Like he said, showing the inner states of people by what they do and how they interact with people. Stuff like that, most of the times. What happens is that, one of the things that a platform like Netflix brings to the table is a very, very good understanding of how narratives work. And since a lot of people who work there, it's a new company, but a lot of people who work there are actually coming from Hollywood. So their understanding of the narrative is very, very good. And I feel that is something that we in Indian industry can actually learn a lot, because we have a lot of fresh ideas. We have a lot of, our approach to storytelling is very uniquely Indian. Our idioms are Indian. But that grasp over narratology is I found it very interesting. They would read our material and they would come back with stuff that was like, it would push us. So that was actually a good, I personally enjoyed that very much. I looked forward to sort of getting their emails, and it was very nicely structured, the notes. So it was good. And it's like when you make a show, like, it's Bilal's book, then I come on board as a writer, we both write it, there is a director, there are people who are doing production, there is Netflix, there are the actors.
There's so many stakeholders.
So the kind of collaborative spirit that it sort of generates, that's very good. It's a very beautiful space, the kind of interpretations that actors bring onto the parts. Sometimes they ad-lib a few lines. So that, the costumes, the locations, So I enjoyed it. It was a first for me, and I had a good time.
And vis-a-vis your Bollywood experience?
Oh, I've had a great time in Bollywood. Nothing to complain about.
Is that a more constrained environment?
I don't think so. I think it comes with its own sort of, it comes with its own beauty. Yeah, it's nice. I thoroughly enjoy working with Bollywood, and I like a lot of popular stuff. So.
Yeah, no, popular stuff is great, but I've just heard like writers say things like producers would come to them and say that, why don't you just add this song here, or like, why don't you just put this funny scene here, or stuff like that, which you probably don't have to deal with when you're on a platform like Netflix.
For somebody who is not from the writing background, they can see something and not like it. But to be able to articulate why they don't like it is a challenge for them. So they try to give these suggestions which coming from a great space. And sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. So sometimes people are open to their ideas not being accepted, sometimes they are not. But I guess that's the part and parcel of our business,
Has anyone said anything strange to you?
Several times. That you write a lot of dark stuff, or that, why can't we include a sex scene? There is no merit in subtext. That is my recent favorite. Oh, okay. That what? Subtext? Are you still involved in subtext? Really, dude?
Like that's people don't understand?
That's so 2017. Like, Subtext.
So if subtext is not cool, then what is cool?
So you meet
It's a podcast. You can see that.
on the nose,
Say-
on the nose, on the nose, on the nose.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
so
you
like
meet
just
what-
direct.
Yeah.
Basically, every genre comes with its own tropes. It's like handing a coloring book, the same coloring book to different children. Some color badly, some don't. Some manage to color within the lines and do a good job. So we so happen to have the spy book, coloring book, spy genre coloring, and we've colored within those.
There were no arguments really. Like I'm sure
There were several
There were several arguments, but
all in the right space, in the right spirit. Because as he said, we could technically discuss what is going wrong, and we did have problems with certain scenes. He had with what I wrote, I did with what he wrote, and we never left that writer's room until we resolved it. So unless I think there's no conflict, there won't be something. Then it'll just be him holding back on what he wants to actually say, but letting it pass, or me doing the same. And then what you just have is a scene that probably you didn't like and you sensed it, and it goes out there and gets shot, and then someone else points it out who has nothing to do with the writing, saying it's a terrible scene. And then you can either go and say I told you so, or you could have fought it 6 months back in that room. Like Mission Impossible. We're not that, but obviously we're in the broader spectrum of a spy genre. There's Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, there's Mission Impossible, and then you want to try to aspire to be somewhere in the middle, probably give those Mission Impossible moments, which are
not
like
so-
action-driven thrills.
So not so unrealistic that you can't relate to it,
Correct.
but not
Yeah.
so
No,
rustic
not
that
like-
you are put off by it.
Yeah, not like one guy fighting 10 people emerging victorious, right? It's not that.
Yeah. No, he gets beaten up like repeatedly by people, and there's no. I mean, Imran Hashmi's character.
मिशन के लिए तैयार हो? Off the books. ये एक in and out job है.
An actor's personality is something that you would look at, or you would just expect them to mold themselves.
When you talk to them, can sort of see what sort of a turn of phrase they are comfortable with, how they talk. Is there something about their mannerism that can be transplanted onto the screenplay? Then it sort of tends to become very ground up, organic. So the nice thing which I also discovered, because I have not interacted with him, is that Imran speaks very flawless and very organically. He speaks very good English. So a lot of times Indian actors, when they speak in English,
It's odd.
they're not able to sort of carry it off,
Yeah.
and it sounds a little off.
Even if they're comfortable.
Even if they're comfortable with it, they tend to go very theatrical with it, So ghar mein they speak well, but so that happened with Imran. It isn't the case. He speaks very naturally.
Yeah.
So that was why we did not have to change a lot of lines, because that was at the back of our mind that So that was one thing very good. Secondly, his body language is something that lends itself to a lot of quiet moments. That ruminative kind of a space. So that yes, we did have a look at it.
I don't know if you've been like following social media, but there was like, I'm sure you've been seeing reactions to the trailer and stuff. And there was this thing about how why we like stereotyping Muslims.
हिंदुस्तानी जासूस दई इनका ख्याल है ये हमसे मुकाबला करेंगे पर क्या कुफ इलाही फौज पर गालिब आ सकता है
And like there were these tweets like, do you think that in a time of such hostile uncertainty, artists would have the sense to demand and demonstrate peace? There's one thing I read. Then there was someone else who said that can India find some storylines that show Pakistan in their rescue missions? How about some rescue missions for Kashmiris in Kashmir? And just, were you like aware of a reaction that could unfold like this? Or was that not something on
It's a
your
very
mind?
lazy reaction, because it's not like we have come up with this story. It is based on a book. Okay. Now I feel personally, when I came on board, I was very excited because Balochistan is something that is nobody talks about it. Okay. This was a book that was set there. So it's like if you go to an Italian restaurant, you are bound to bump into a lot of bread. So you can't say that what about being some vegan and gluten free. So it's that sort of a thing. Sure.
No,
Yes.
of course. They have an opinion which was based off a trailer, which is 2 minutes of the show. I think, whatever we've shown is fiction. We have not, in my knowledge, attempted to offend anyone. That's not the case. Why would we do that, right? When you sit down to write, you want to tell a great dramatic story. If it's not working for some, sure, it's not working for whatever reasons. But for the people it did work, I mean, it might work for some, we still don't know that. But it's fiction, and I don't think I saw this sort of reaction coming. But probably let them see the show. I guess they'll realize some of it was unfound.
I think it's more context driven. Maybe in this case, of course, I was not the attempt at all, but maybe like
Also,
a series of
it's probably coming out at a time which is such.
Which
We
is
had
also sensitive,
no
yeah.
clue, right? We
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah,
In
yeah.
2015, the book was written. 2018, the show started being written. 2019 is when it's coming out. So we were stuck in that one room writing, probably not knowing what's happening outside in the world.
I meant that it's coming at a time when there have been stereotypical depictions
And
of Muslims.
every country will
it's
have
just a
its
more
own
sensitive
narrative.
issue.
Every country will have its own narrative. And every country's narrative that portrays probably something wrong about someone else who is not from that country, the person that country belongs to will have a problem with it. You can't make something to please everyone.
But I feel happy when people are outraged. I feel
It's nice
happy.
to see people
I feel
triggered.
that, yeah, wow. We have, I feel writers should comfort the agitated and agitate the comforted. So that was a good thing. People were quite upset.
No, I think, you know what is social media has given voices to people who would have been offended anyway. Be offended
suddenly,
publicly
something
versus
becomes
being
anti-Hindu,
offended.
and then somebody goes like, files a case saying that Netflix is making shows that are anti-Hindu, and till now
Yeah, that was very crazy. I was like, but to get outraged requires a lot of imagination to actually find something really unique to be outraged about week after week. That I think is a skill in itself. And
Lela and this and
Yeah,
that. and
yeah.
that. But is it something that you fear that censorship has so far been saved from coming to the web space, but like that is a possibility?
I personally don't feel scared about it. Perhaps because I've been around for a bit. But sure, even if it is censored, people will find a way, Like most of great Russian cinema was made around the time when there was severe censorship. Iranian cinema, great, always censored. So it's okay. I'm sure people find a way to tell their own stories. And when there is a heavy repression, then the metaphors change, symbolisms change. People find convenient ways to say the difficult things. So as a creator, it doesn't really bother me.
That's the thing. If censorship comes in, it's not like people will say, no one is going to take that stand and say, okay, now I'm not going to make this show. Now the censorship's come in. If they get the opportunity, they'll still do it. We are no different. If someone asks us to still write a show with censorship laws in place, we'll do that because that's what we want to do.
Worse than censorship, according to me, is this sometimes people tend to be more loyal in the Queen and they sort of try to self-censor. So that is sometimes can be very dangerous. So, certain narratives get privileged, certain narratives don't get the kind of space that they deserve.
The assumption that there may be objections to this.
Yeah, so that sometimes could be the
particularly
case.
mythological stuff is something that people are always dicey about, right?
Anything. anything. Not
Anything, just anything. It's gotten that bad.
I'm telling you, we can write, we'll sit together, we'll try to jam on a teenage love story, and at some point we'll just think about should we show this or not. Mark my words. It'll happen.
Should we though show this or not is like a milestone in a writing relationship. It's a milestone. Are we there yet? We're there.
And if we survive that, you're in a great relationship.
Yeah.
If you don't,
Yeah. Should we
break up.
Yeah, and the next milestone is will people get it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's also there.
Have you had that ever where someone's
No.
like, I didn't understand this?
Because I feel it's a very cynical attitude to have. No, I will get it, but my driver won't. That's like I find it very. I find it like really hard to believe. And people do that to me all the time. They say like, well, it's like
will the
civilized.
rickshaw driver like this film?
It's like civilized homophobia. Like
Yeah.
I know it's okay with you, but I don't know about others.
Right.
So I find it very hard to. I don't know. It's a very cynical attitude.
Do you feel as writers that you guys want to reach out to a lot of people, like you said, like everyone should get this, or I'll say the story I want and whoever gets it gets it?
This is a very tricky kind of a space because every writer see the thing with writing is it's a paradox because everybody knows that anything that is popular is actually not so great, but we also know that if we don't become popular, then we will not be great. So it's finding that nobody likes like writers who write for writers. So it's like finding that sort of a middle ground where, one does not feel like a sellout and one is able to say their thing. And again, like I said, this medium of screenwriting is so collaborative, and it sublimates the ego. So it's sort of, you try to see everybody's point of view. You get a lot of empathy for everybody's point of view. You feel people, you feel where they're coming from. And yeah, it's a great.
No frustration?
There is frustration, sure. But then there is also a lot of joy when you see that, what you've been trying to resist, a lot of resistance you face, then you realize that perhaps it was your own sort of, limitations that you could not see it. So, and especially if you work with smart, intelligent people, there is there is this frustration for sure. But there is also this pleasure. Oh, wow. All right, this is where it was going. So it's like music, man. It's like, people jam together, they come out with a great thing. Everybody loves it in the end. We had a lot of fun writing, I think. Late conversations, great meals. It's also good when the space is smooth, you really like each other. That, I think, solves a lot of problems.
And when you don't?
When you don't, well then, black eyes. People come to blows. That happens. Although, yeah, those are toxic rooms.
Yeah, thank you so much for being
Thank you so much.
here, and thank you so much for doing this. And all the best for the show. I hope it does really well.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So that was Bilal Siddiqi and Mayank Tewari, and hopefully Bard of Blood doesn't disappoint. If you have any feedback, you can write to me on @nandkumar_27 on Instagram and Twitter, or drop me a mail on @nandkumar.ramohan@thequint.com. Tune in every alternate Wednesday to yet another episode of OffScreen. And before I sign off, don't forget to subscribe to the Quint's channel on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or any of the several platforms we're on right now. Have a great week and see you next time.